Okay, all right. Let's take a look at a couple of stocks actually from the broader markets that are moving pretty well, particularly in the last few minutes or so. And that's really where the action is. So you pull up the intraday chart of Syngene. That's recovered considerably from the low point of the day. NMDC has spiked up a little bit. So keep an eye out on that stock as well. And Delta Corp, yesterday it ended virtually at the high point of the day. It seems that one is moving a little bit better today as well. That as well spiking up. IDFC First Bank from the banking pack posted its numbers. That's one of the stocks that has done pretty well. So IDFC and IDFC First Bank, both of them doing well in trade as we speak. On the flip side though, Aarti Industries, pull up the intraday chart, that's moved to the day's low. So keep an eye out on that one. And Gujarat Gas as well has slipped a little bit. But let's move on then. The Adani Group has indirectly acquired more than 29% stake in news broadcaster NDTV. The Adani Group's unit has also announced an open offer for the additional 26% odd at around 294 rupees per share. This open offer will cost close to around 493 crore rupees. Yash Jain joins us to fill us in with more on what he's picking up. Yash, take us through how this deal is structured and more importantly, what next?
Well, Nigel, very quickly, let me start by talking about the shareholding pattern itself at NDTV. So, Prannoy Roy and Radhika Roy, they together own a little over 32% stake in NDTV. Another promoter entity, that is RRPR, held around 29% stake. Now, it's this 29% stake held by RRPR in NDTV that has been acquired by Vishwa Pradhan Commercial, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Adani Group. Interestingly, Adani Group announced the acquisition of Vishwa Pradhan Capital just minutes before they announced the acquisition of Vishwa Pradhan's capital stake in NDTV, that is RRPR stake. Now, as far as the deal structure itself is concerned, Vishwa Pradhan Capital, Commercial rather, has converted warrants issued by RRPR into equity, now which gives Vishwa Pradhan the ownership of entire RRPR stake in NDTV, which is about 29%. Now, since Vishwa Pradhan is an entity of Adani Group, through this particular transaction, Adani Group indirectly gets a 29% stake in NDTV. That's essentially the deal structure itself. As far as what's the way forward, since it was a stake which was over 25% with over 25% voting rights, it has triggered an open offer for another 26% stake. Now, that will be at a price of 294 rupees per share, which is about 25% discount to the current market price of NDTV shares. What is in store for, of course, Prannoy Roy and Radhika Roy? Three important things. One is either they can essentially tender their shares when it comes to the open offer, which will be available. They can, if they think it's a hostile takeover, they have the option to take a legal recourse and challenge this particular mode of transaction. Or third thing, they can essentially co-promote NDTV along with the Adani Group.
All right, Yash, thanks a lot for taking us through all of the news and how exactly this deal is structured. But also stay on and take us through who the big NDTV holders are, and are they likely also to sell in this open offer?
So, Pavitra, there's a very interesting story when we speak about the shareholders of NDTV, and this might lead you to understand what happens next. So, what I've gathered is there are three sets of shareholders which have interlinked directors amongst themselves. Now, this includes essentially shareholders like GRD Securities, Dhrolia Agencies, Adesh Broking. These three companies have interlinked directors. Now, what happens is, I am not saying that it is a given that all three shareholders will tender their shares into this particular open offer, but possible if one does, and since they have interlinked directors, then all these companies do really tender their shares in that open offer. That is one interesting bit. The second one is that another FII shareholder, that is LTS Investments, that owns a sizable chunk in NDTV of about 9.75%. Now, what's interesting is that LTS Investments also has stake in various Adani companies, about 1.69% stake in Adani Enterprise, 1.09% in Adani Power, 1.63% in Adani Transmissions, about 1.3% in Adani Total. Now, it's assumed, or it's quite evident that if they tend to really they have their stake in Adani Group companies, it is possible they might tender their stake in NDTV also when it comes to the open offer. If these two things are done, it will take Adani Group's stake just on the basis of these two shareholders to a sizable number.
Okay. Yash, thanks very much for bringing us up to speed. So clearly we haven't heard the last on this deal, and this is something that will play out over the next few days. Karan Taurani of Elara Securities also spoke to us about what he makes of this deal and also about the valuations.
I don't see, the other broadcasting companies, moving up 2.5, 3x in terms of share price. I think, NDTV valuations will probably move for more realistic and will probably move downwards over a medium to long term basis.
All right, that is the word coming in on this latest deal. But with that, it's time for our first short break on the show. On the other side, as promised, we're going to catch up with the co-founder of Ease Micro, Prashant Pitti, to discuss the impact of inflation and also what the demand trends are looking like